Jatan, hello, welcome.
Hey, Guy.
Very nice to see you. So in your role as chairman of the board of AVIXA, I wonder if you can tell us what you're trying to achieve, and is there anything that people might be surprised about what AVIXA does and what its mission is?
So in terms of my role as the chair of AVIXA board, the role is facilitating the conversations and the advisory level conversations that happen for helping the organization think through strategic aspects of the future direction. There's also, of course, there are fiduciary side of the role as well, but on the strategic side, if you think about it, as an organization, AVIXA represents the whole AV industry, both from different vertical markets, different applications, different regions, all of it. So the idea is that as an organization which is focused on two primary goals, one being the hub for the industry, and then second being the catalyst for growth of the AV industry. So that's where the AVIXA management team, which is full-time working on achieving those goals and serving the industry, does. Board comes in as on the advisory side and a fiduciary side, right? So on the advisory side, again, thinking through and helping the management team, the future direction of the AV industry, some of the trends, and what the organization should be thinking about. As we know, the industry continues to evolve and change. And while we know that today's problem, we have to keep thinking about where the world is headed and what it means for the AV industry. That's where the board comes into play, which is, again, more on the strategic side of what the organization should be focusing on.
So that raises a very, very interesting question, which is, where do you think the world is headed? What at the top level, what's the big picture advice that you're giving to AVIXA about how it needs to work as a hub and a catalyst for growth?
In terms of what the board is advising the management team, of course, while I'm a chair, I don't represent the entirety of the board, right? The board does have various members who are representing very different part of the industry. And that's actually the beauty of the construct of the board, that you have people that are not over-indexed in one or the other areas, but they do represent the breadth of the AV industry, including different regions of the world. But from my own perspective, I can share in terms of where I see, you have some of the macro trends that are happening, right, in the world, whether it's a technology evolution with AI, of course, there are regional plays happening, and you have the changing needs of the end users. So while it's hard to kind of think through all of them, the board, working with the management team, thinks through the macro trends in the world, and then the implications of what those trends are on the organization, and then that sets the agenda for AVIXA for the coming years. So that's kind of the broader sets. Of course, the strategy doesn't have to change just like other organizations every year, but at least every 3 to 5 years, the strategy gets looked upon on a more broader way. And then in between, there's kind of fine-tuning of what the organization should be doing.
Okay. So you mentioned AI, and that's a tremendously interesting area that's possibly a little bit hard to plan for. How do you think AVIXA can help the industry get to grips with the challenges of AI, and what do you think those challenges might be?
So the opportunities and challenges that come forward with AI, while AVIXA cannot be an authoritative voice of AI for the AV industry, it can definitely facilitate the conversations about AI, which means bringing forward either different panel discussions or different various keynote speakers and so forth, and also have different forums that allow the conversations to take place. As the AI, of course, is moving so fast, so quickly, that it's hard to kind of have an opinion that kind of lasts even longer than a month these days. Having said that, if you have the right groups and the forums that are enabling the conversations to happen, then the AV industry can keep up with the evolution of the technology, and then think about how AV can remain not just relevant, but also keep thinking about the solution space for the end users. And that's what the the industry needs to do, and then AVIXA's role in my mind is that facilitate those conversations.
So, in a sense, AI isn't the first challenge like this. In some way, AV has been converging to some degree with IT for quite some time. And I wondered whether you think of AV as its own area of expertise or as something which needs to work more in partnership with other skills, whether AV professionals, perhaps through AVIXA training, need to acquire IT expertise, AI expertise, whether they should be working alongside those disciplines, or whether AV is also its own specialism. That's a very broad question.
Yeah, so is AV remains its own domain, or does it have to work with the other disciplines out there? If you think about it, I mean, the answer is yes, of course, where one is that it's not just the convergence with IT. If you kind of think just broadly the technology in general in the world, there used to be a time where there was significant lag between what happened in the mainstream consumer technologies or other technologies in the world and then adoption of those technologies by AV. I mean, today I just feel like that we are talking about the broader technologies get looked upon by the AV players very quickly. And then there's a conversation about can those technologies make a difference for AV solutions. So I think about AV professionals should be thinking about the outcomes that end users are trying to achieve in whatever the space or whatever the place that they are putting in AV. And to achieve those outcomes, it's really getting more and more difficult to just narrowly thinking about AV. You have to think about the space in broader sense. And so in some cases, it may be that all you need is a very narrowly focused meeting room solution. But in many cases, you have to think broadly about spaces in general, which could mean facilities management. It could mean other things, whether it's lighting controls, whether it's HVAC controls, in addition to AV. Having said that, there are many still things to solve just within the AV domain. But I do think that it depends on the outcome that we are trying to achieve for the end users.
Do you have anything that perhaps you'd like to share with the world about why they should get involved with AVIXA, about what AVIXA does and how it could help educate the end users that you've mentioned, particularly in the is it how would what encouragement would you give people to work with AVIXA?
AVIXA, again, it represents the broader AV industry. The organization has been in place for a long time. It is an organization to serve the members and the community, AV community. It is beyond just a simple altruistic way of serving this industry. If you think about if you play any role in the AV industry, you're doing it because you are interested, you're passionate about it, driving solutions. So over time, this industry, to me, it's in the hands of the members in many ways. How we actually drive the agenda, how we actually drive what conversations take place, it's in the hands of the members. And thereby, I would just encourage people to kind of, yes, sometimes you could be on the sideline and just be watching, but I would say take active role. It doesn't mean that you have to play a role in a committee or some kind of a formal way, but just engage in conversations, give opinions, views. AVIXA, not just through trade shows, but also through digital means with exchange. There's significant opportunity to engage in conversations. So I just think that by having those conversations and engagement with AVIXA, it not only helps the organization to make sure that the agenda, the certification, and the education side of it, and all of that remains relevant, but it keeps evolving with time. And all the conversations aren't just based on what the needs of today are, but they're based on future. But it all comes from people. It comes from the members. It comes from larger AV community. So getting involved with AVIXA allows you to actually, really keep the future of the AV industry in your hands.
Fantastic. Well, Jatan Shah, thank you very much for joining us and talking to us today.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you.